All right, in this episode of Chalk Talk, we will be talking about the 4-2 setup. So we're going to be talking about how to set up a 4-2 offense. Okay, so what you're looking at here is obviously a water polo court setup. You have the red is inside the 2-meter line, the yellow is inside the 5-meter line. Where the red meets the yellow, that is actually the 2-meter line. And where the blue meets the yellow, that is actually the 5-meter line. This isn't to scale, so it just gives you a rough understanding of the setup and where the 5-meter and 2-meter are in the goal. And then also what I've done is I've created 2 imaginary lines, and this is going to help with understanding where to be exactly during a 4-2 offense. So those are those 2 lines going vertically down the middle of the screen here. So our first position is a wing, and this is the 1 position. Second position is a whole set position. This is a 2 position, and you notice that they're just outside that imaginary line that I drew, that line going down. That's where I want them. I want them just outside the post, and I'll go into that in a second. 3 is over here, just outside of the other post, on the 2-meter line or somewhere in that area. Definitely not inside the 2-meter line unless the ball crosses the 2-meter line. They could be at like 3 meters or at 2 meters, somewhere in that area. And the reason why they're outside the posts is it gives them lots of space to work with inside of the posts. If those 2 players go inside the posts, then it gets crowded in that area. There's defense that's going to be in that area, and also allows the defense can then guard each position, and that is a huge problem. So we want to be outside the posts, on the 2-meter line or just outside of the 2-meter line. And yeah, so that's about it. Just it's really easy for players to drift inside the posts, and we don't want that to happen. We want them to be just outside the posts. So this is where things get a little confusing with numbering. You'd think that 4 goes at the very end over there on the other wing, but it doesn't. 4 is actually up top here on the post and at the 5-meter line. And then 5 is over here on this post at the 5-meter area. And I'm okay with 4 and 5 being a little further out, only if the 2 sets, so 3 and 2, are at the 3 meters. And that way, the defense of 4 and 5 doesn't drop, and it's hard for them to guard both those positions. And then finally, the 6th position is over here at the wing. So what you're looking at is very standardized 4-2 offense. And there's some variations of this that I'm okay with the players running. It could look something like this. Could look something like this. Can look something like this. Like we went over. And I want to talk about this position, this setup right here is, well, first, 1 to 6 and 6 to 1, this pass should never be made at the 14U level. I don't like my 14U teams to make this pass, and that's just a rule that I have. And there's a couple reasons for that. It's a long pass, and there's 2 defenders, or 4 defenders in this area on that pass. If 1 to 6 was made or 6 to 1 was made, you'll see in a sec what the defense is going to look like. So I don't like these passes being made. This position is a better passing position because now the middle is opened, but I will never let still a 14U, most of my 14U teams make this pass from 6-1 and 1-6. And the reason for that is there's 3 reasons. One, it's a long pass. Longer passes are harder to be accurate. It requires strength, and that's one of the issues at the 14U level, is that they're going to be throwing the ball at closer to their max effort, and it's hard to be accurate when you're approaching that area of max effort in a pass. Another thing too is the defense is right there. It gives the defense lots of time to move to where the ball is going to go. One of the rules that I have is the longer the pass, the more time the defense has to get to that area. So a goalie pass, the defense has lots of time to get to where the ball is going to land. That's why long goalie passes should be made with a big distance between where the ball is going to land and the defense. So you have hard to be accurate, you have the defense has time to get to that position, and then finally you have the receiver. That receiver needs to have good coordination and be able to catch that ball effectively. So there's 3 really important things that are going against most 14U teams just because they're very novice, and I don't like this pass being made at that level. At the 16U level, maybe. At the 18U level, yes, this is a great pass to be made, and especially if 6 is a left-hander, they can catch and shoot right away, and that's a high percentage scoring position. Because the goalie is sliding from one side of the pool to the other, and they have to cross the entire cage to get to the other side. And usually at that point, they are caught off of position of the ball, and that's where a really high percentage shot can come from. And vice versa, from 6-1, having one be a right-hander. And then the shot immediately after that. Any hesitation on that is not a good shot. You want that shot quick. So 18U level, yes, they can make that 1-6 and 6-1 pass. 16U level, maybe, depending on the team. 14U level, no. That's just not something that works. It works very rarely. I've never seen it actually work at the 14U level. And I'm not saying that it doesn't, but it's just very rare. So stay away from those passes if you're on 14U. 16U, maybe. 18U, yes, make those all day long. So we're going to throw in some defense here. So this is O1. O is the defense, so that's where the defender typically will be, depending on the situation and how the other team adjusts to our offense. They could be dropping back over to 2 a little bit, but usually they're there. O2 is going to be there. O3 is there. O4 is there. O5 is there. And O6 is there. Now, if you can imagine 1-6 in this setup being made without moving up, that pass is very risky. You have 4 defense in the passing lane of the ball. And if you remember from the other lecture that I did on passing lanes, this is the passing lanes and releasing. This is a very, very bad pass to make. There's so much going on through that passing trajectory of the ball that just makes it problematic. So 1-6 and 6-1, not here. It's okay. It's okay if 1-6 move up and then they can make that pass. Only at the 18U level, maybe at the 16. Definitely not at the 14U. But this is what the 4-2 offense looks like set up. It's okay to have some variations in there with 6-1 moving up and down and moving inside the 2 if they have the ball, which I really like to do, especially at the 14U level, because most 14U teams have no idea what's going on when that happens. So it's very easy to catch other teams off guard. But this is what it looks like. And just to kind of recap here, 1 is on the wing, 2 is just outside the post on the 2-meter line or just outside the 2-meter line. 3, same thing. 4 is up top on the post and at the 5-meter line. And 5 is up top on the other post at the 5-meter line, and 6 is on the wing, somewhere around the 2-meter line. Okay, so some advantages of the 4-2 offense. We have 2 outside shooters in a high scoring percentage area. So if you remember the lecture on scoring percentages and playing the percentages, unlike the 3-3, now we have 2 players in a very high percentage scoring area rather than 1. So it's effective in that sense. You have 2 set positions in front of the cage. So this is obviously, if you have 2 strong hole sets, this would be a great play, great setup to run. Because what happens is it creates a lot of opportunities elsewhere for the offense to work if it's not in hole set. So you'll have drops, which will create outside shooters, and if there's a drop coming from up top, it leaves those players open, and they're in a very high scoring percentage area. Also, rebounds from hole sets. This is huge because now you have 2 hole sets in front of the cage. And if there's a shot coming and it lands back in the middle of the pool somewhere, those hole sets can grab it and just hose it. So rebounds are super good when it comes to 4-2, very effective in getting rebounds. And it's hard to defend 2 set positions. Most teams might have 1 good hole set defender, and that player usually is very limited in the amount of hole set play, especially against another team that has a good hole set, because of the ejection maximum. You're only allowed 3 ejections in a game. So if you're playing against a good hole set team, that hole set defender will be getting 2, maybe 3 in the game. If you have 2 hole set positions, now you're getting more ejections from other players on the other team, because that's not a very specialized position from other players. They're not going to know how to guard hole set. There might be a too aggressive because they're used to playing on the perimeter, and they will absolutely get ejected for sure. So it's good to have 2 hole sets in that position. It's really effective because it's really hard to have 2 defenders guarding those positions. So you're going to see more 6-on-5s later from those ejections, which is great because the 4-2 offense is a really smooth transition into a 6-on-5. You don't have to set anything up. And if you go to the lecture on 6-on-5, the 4-2 6-on-5, you're already set up in a 4-2. There's no setting up a 3-3, then going into a 4-2 6-on-5. You're already set up in a 6-on-5. So it's very effective and smooth transition into a 6-on-5. And 4-2 is great in that sense because the normal 6-on-6 offense sets you up to get ejections, and then you're really easily and capable of going into that offense, that 6-on-5 offense 4-2. So it's really great in that sense, is that those 2 work together for that. So some disadvantages of the 4-2. It creates a lot of traffic in the middle of the pool, and if a team doesn't know how to utilize those players, the 4-2 becomes detrimental to the team running it. So it's important to understand all the dynamics, which I will go into which you will be able to find in other episodes. We'll go into different situations, how to move, how to drive, but the point here is the disadvantage is it's not a spectating offense. If players are just watching what's going on and not actively involved with thinking and taking advantage of certain opportunities, then it's going to be a detriment. It's going to be a detriment to the offense. It'll be absolutely detrimental. Okay, the driving for the 4-2 requires lots of movement. It requires at least 5 people all thinking and working together. And that's really hard to do. So that's also a disadvantage if you want to use it as a driving offense. And it the team that's running it needs to be a strong swimming team. If they're not a strong swimming team, that's going to be another detrimental aspect to running the 4-2. It also wears the defense down. So it wears the defense and offense down. If the teams aren't conditioned, then both teams are going to be tired. The team that's more conditioned is going to be able to handle the 4-2 offense, whether it's defense or offense. So that's setting up a 4-2 offense.